Sean, thank you so much for filling for me for the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. Well, good to have you back. There was a lot that went on, and it was good to have that connection from overseas. I thought that was really cool.
It was great. How did you find the Newsroom?
It's interesting. It's interesting to see how the reporters reflect back on what they've done, and in that second iteration, we could see a little bit more of an analysis that comes out that might not be captured for our viewers. So now we could do that here. I think that's really good.
Yeah, I think they had a blast with you too.
Yeah, it was fun.
Too hot, but
it was always hot. But of course, in London, it wasn't that hot. You said
it wasn't. It was a great experience, an overwhelming one. It's not every day that you get to fly to London and cover the one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and just to absorb that upbeat and jovial atmosphere and talk to people in the streets who are just swollen with national pride. And yeah, it was a great experience. And weather-wise, it was amazing. It was actually cool. Really.
What was like the most interesting moment there?
Interesting moment, I'd have to say, it was the opening, the day of the actual opening ceremony. Actually, I have a moving image that I took
like
there.
Mobile journalism.
Yes, I did, and it's okay. This is like when the actual countdown has begun.
Oh, wow.
You can already hear the roar and the chanting.
And this is outside the stadium?
It's the Trafalgar Square in central London.
So they set these up all around the city?
Yes, I mean this 3-meter high clock.
And that's the opening.
Yeah,
I had to download the opening ceremony and I watched it later.
Yeah, how'd you like it?
It was very well produced. It was super produced. It looked like somebody said, I'm going to do everything that everyone else has said it was impossible. Like put fields of grass and then have it disappear somehow. I don't know how they did all of that.
It was amazing. And the dancers and the participants. And I think overall it was a success.
Right.
Although I'm certainly looking forward to the closing ceremony. That's still a guessing game right now.
Right.
But yeah, certainly looking forward to that. And another event that really caught my attention was the fashion show by a Korean designer, Lee Sang-bong, and it was held in the V&A Museum, the Victoria and Albert Museum. And it's I hear that's an honor to have the opportunity to showcase some sort of a performance or a fashion show.
Right.
And Korean designer was the very first time, the first Korean designer to actually do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so a lot of your coverage wasn't necessarily on sports. We have all of our other domestic networks who cover all the games. So we took a more of a cultural behind the scenes tour of essentially of almost like a diplomatic mission culturally for Korea. Like there's a lot there. I don't think a lot of people know that there's this huge entourage that follows the Olympians that deal with diplomacy and culture, and you really got a lot of those snapshots.
Yeah, I mean, luckily, it's still going on. This festival is called the All Eyes on Korea, literally All Eyes on Korea. And, it consists of exhibitions and fashion show we just talked about. Also the musical performances from traditional to classical. I mean, the big names like Sarah Chang and soprano Cho Soo-mi was also there, doing their part. And I talked to Sarah Chang, and she seems extremely pleased to be, participating in promoting Korean culture. And the audience and spectators that I talked to, they were very excited and impressed with the side they have seen about Korea, the food, the people, and the arts.
Right.
So I was very proud to be there and covering the story for the Korean entourage, like I said.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool, I think.
Right, so it's certainly great to be back, and although the heat wave it's not too pleasing, but still, yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Everything was heating up while you were away, and now you're back and you feel all of the heat.
Next week it's gonna get better, so certainly look forward to that.
Right, definitely. And we have
good to see you again.
Good to see you too. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Starting this week's headlines, the Korean football squad made it to the semifinals in the London Olympics to play against Brazil. Although they lost 3-0 to the 5-time World Cup champion, this is something to be celebrated as it's the Korean footballers' best performance in the Olympic history. Korean weightlifter Chang Mi-ran won't be returning home with a medal around her neck as she finished fourth with a total lift of 289 kilos in London, nearly 40 kilograms short of her golden record back in Beijing. China's Zhao Lulu took the gold, while Russian Tatiana Kashirina came in a close second. Korean gymnast Yang Hak-sun brought home the first gold medal in gymnastics for Team Korea after showcasing his very own maneuver, the triple twist on vault, which he calls the Yang Hak-sun. The Korean government issued a power shortage alert for the first time since a nationwide blackout in September. This has prompted the government to resume operations of the country's oldest nuclear power plant at Gori to meet the surge in electricity consumption. The sweltering heat wave across Korea is also threatening the quality of the country's drinking water, as it has accelerated algae growth in key lakes and rivers supplying the nation's water. Korea's top music and entertainment management firms have recorded double-digit percentage revenue growth on growing exports, which now account for almost half of all sales. And this thanks to a surge in the number of overseas K-pop fans. Well, that's all for this week's headlines. I'll be back with more news next week.
Well, hello guys. It feels great to be back and see you guys again. How have you guys been holding up? Very well.
Yeah, I've seen your reports.
From London.
Those were amazing.
How'd you guys like it?
It was good.
Yeah?
The weather seemed awesome.
Yeah, it was. And we'll talk about the weather very soon. But then, as I've been really caught up with the Olympic frenzy going on in London, I'm sure our reporters, Connie and of course Ji-sun, you guys must have been hectically busy trying to, keep up with the games and bring us the latest on what's happening in London. So walk us through your day.
Well, basically our life just, works around the clock throughout the whole 2 weeks. For Connie, she wakes up at like 4 a.m., follow up on all the games, and she prepare for the noon newscast. And in my case, I stay awake the whole night, catching up the games, and then go to bed at like 7 a.m. and wake up at noon and come to work and get all the lineups done, like go over the games like for the Korean athletes and for the international athletes as well, and prepare for the early edition and the primetime news. So there's barely like no time to even have dinner or lunch for the matter.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're a bit sleep deprived, both of us, for the past week and a half or so. So it's been really busy just catching up, following up on all the games and then making sure that everything's updated right in time for the news. So.
What are other challenges? I don't know, keeping up with the games, one thing. How about?
Well, this actually happened when I was in Daegu last year when Usain Bolt was disqualified in his 100-meter race. And, this surprise has also come in the Olympics. So, like, sometimes you prepare all the CGs, all the profile for the medal favorites, but then, if he or she fails to get the medal, and if he gets kicked out of the finals, then we have to write everything, like, all over again with the new rising stars and, the new results.
You never know what's going to happen, right?
And I thought Taekwondo star Lee Jae-hoon was going to win the gold, but he didn't, and so I had all this stuff prepared for him, like his profile and biography, but he didn't win the gold, and so I didn't have that much time, or I didn't want to spend so much time on talking about him when he just won the silver.
Well, with that being said, let's get straight to the highlights of this week's games. I mean, what do you have?
Well, I would say I would want to really highlight all the Korean female athletes, performing, excelling in London, and especially in all the combat and target sports such as shooting, archery, and fencing. And we earned the most medals from fencing and shooting for that case. They earned 5 medals for shooting, and we got the first medal from women's 50-meter pistol from Kim Jang-mi, as well as another gold in fencing. And some people say Korea is filled with women who are really good at
That's
all
what
the
I'm talking about.
sports. That's just amazing.
Yeah, and we're good at aiming and shooting.
I know.
Right, and?
And I'm just impressed with the volleyball team too, because they haven't won a medal for more than 30 years, the women's volleyball team, and so they've been doing really, really well, and the women's handball team. So again, the whole girl power going on here and for Team Korea. So it's been a lot of fun.
For men as well. Come on, Hyun-bin, you can speak up.
Well, I found it memorable with Kim Yeon-woo, the wrestler, with the 66 kilogram. He won he had a big bruise in the finals. And I watched this semifinal. It was very interesting because he was losing. I know he was tied up at the end with a minute left, and he did a quick stand up and got a point and got to the final round. So I thought that was very interesting.
There were also disappointments. Who would like to share with that? I mean, very close calls as to grabbing that the medal. Any?
Well, I would probably pinpoint out two events, badminton and table tennis, because those two events were we were fairly medal favorites in the previous Olympics. For example, Yeon-ji had earned the mixed doubles back in Beijing, but this time he tried out for the men's double, in which they finished with a bronze. And it was also full of scandals with the female badminton players kicked out of the Olympics for not playing hard enough. So they flew back home earlier, and it's still a shame, not a shame, but a controversial situation we have on court, and as well as table tennis. We just can't, get past the Great Wall of China. I mean, the table is, I think, like it seems like it's blocked with their, defense, and as well as their, smashes are just, something we have to really learn and try to overcome one day.
Not a day passes by without some drama in the Olympic scene. But let's certainly hope that our Korean athletes, because the game actually comes to close next Monday already.
I know. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself after the Olympics.
Yeah,
I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night and turn on the TV.
Nothing's on.
Right. It's still a guessing game as to what's going to happen at the closing ceremony, and let's hope that our Korean athletes would, return home safely with more medals around their necks, for that matter. Speaking of coming home, when I actually flew in from London last week, I was taken aback by the weather. I couldn't believe I've landed in Korea.
It was so cold.
It was really, really hot, and I believe it's been ages since we have experienced this longest streaks of heat wave and sweltering hot weather. How are you guys holding up?
Sweating away all the time.
I'm sure Seung-ha has a lot to tell us about that.
I bought this little fan, a USB fan.
I see it everywhere.
Connected to my laptop, and I was turning it on because it's really hot, even inside this office.
Even with the AC on, it's
Exactly.
still hot.
It is still hot, and we have to keep our room temperatures at 28 degrees Celsius because we're government farm. So the room temperatures is really high. And also, it's been almost 3 weeks that we've been experiencing this hot and humid weather. Therefore, the power supply level is really low right now. And earlier this week, there were warnings issued for 2 consecutive days. The name is called Code Yellow, and it's issued when the power reserve level dipped below 3 million kilowatt mark. And that's significant because the same warning was issued last September when the nation was hit by this nationwide blackout. So this shows how serious the situation is right now.
How is this affecting people's lives? I'm sure, not only the power supply or people's health, I'm sure it's affecting otherwise.
Yeah, if you go to markets, you will see higher prices on vegetables because of the hot weather and little rainfall. In fact, only like 6% of rain that fallen last year fell this year, and because of that little rainfall and hot weather, there is lack of supply in vegetables, putting up the prices. And also, I heard that more than 800,000 livestock have died because of the hot weather, and that's something miserable.
And also, I hear that to ensure much of the power supply, we are reoperating, trying to resume operation in Kori Wonjeon. It's the oldest power plant in Korea, isn't it?
Yeah, it was built back in 1978. It's older than me. It's been 30 years now, and it has been shut down in February because there was a sudden power outage due to some safety reasons. And actually, the government has decided to restart the operator because they are now think that it's safe enough. But still, controversies are going on between the government and civic groups. The civic groups say they cannot trust the government's decision, and they're saying that the reactor is not safe enough. They want it closed down because it's too old. Yeah.
So has the reactor undergone like some security checks and monitors?
Yeah, actually, IAEA inspectors have come 2 months ago to check, and they gave a green light at last. So maybe it's safe.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed. And I think it was sometime in June that we conducted the nationwide drill on the blackout situation, and maybe the government should do something to remind us again that of a possible electricity or power crisis that we could be possibly experience later in the year or so. Okay, so moving on. Hyun-bin.
Yes.
I see our very fashionable ladies here. What do you think about it? Because we hear that you went to a very special fashion show.
I did the ladies' fashion right now is fabulous. I think. But it's a little different from where I went to. It was a military fashion show. It had all the past to present military outfits and some new innovations that they made.
As it turns out, the military and fashion don't have to be mutually exclusive. The 2012 Military Fashion Show was held Saturday in Cheolwon County, sponsored by the local government there and nearby military divisions. It was an opportunity to showcase how military clothing can become everyday wear. The event's focus was to emphasize the history of military wear from past to present, as well as its eco-friendly aspects. All the outfits on display were derived from real military clothing donated by the Korean Army. The creative and imaginative designs that appeared on the runway were intended for people with an artistic taste in fashion.
Is there any memorable piece of clothing or wardrobe that you really caught your eye?
Well, that was a very practical uniform. Because like the military uniform itself, it's very hot during the summer and it's very cold during the wintertime.
Right.
So, but they had mesh embedded in one of the Special Forces uniform where you could unzip and where you could get better airflow. That wise, I think that would be, very useful during, especially an active duty soldier, because during training you could just zip it up so no water or like mud could get in. But during like working hours, you could just open it up and get some airflow. So I think that might help out. Yeah.
I also hear that it's eco-friendly. How does that work?
Well, it's in the fabric. They use fabric that is eco-friendly and that is disposable. Yeah.
I didn't know you were so into fashion, Hyun-bin.
Well, fashion not too much, but military-wise, I am. So
I see.
So it was interesting.
Well, yeah, certainly looking forward to seeing you wear one of those later in the week.
Oh, no, hopefully not in the near future. Maybe next year for Halloween.
All right. Well, it's been another great week, guys. It's good to see you guys again. I can't wait to see you guys next week, right here, same time. Keep up the good work.
All right.
Bye.
Nice to have you back.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much. It feels great to be back.
SUNY Korea boasts a state-of-the-art campus.
Hello.
Hello, my name is Yeon-ji Kim, and I'm here to do a story on SUNY Korea, the first American university to be set up in Korea. We are going to Incheon, where these multinational universities are located together. And Korea's first American university to open is the State University of New York called SUNY. SUNY is a very prestigious university system, as you know, and it's an honor that I get to go over there and see what they are doing. Efforts are underway to open. Undergraduate degree programs come next year, so we are going to see how the school is doing in preparation for its grand opening next year. We are moving to the building C, where the symposium will be held this morning. This symposium was held because there was a faculty visiting SUNY Korea this time from FIT. They came here to look around the campus and see if they really want to start offering their programs here in the future. So the symposium that these professors attend is about fashion and technology and business. So So we are here for the symposium. It's about to start.
그런 대학으로 이 자리에 쓸 수 있는 그런 학교로 저희들을 발전시킵니다.
I'm going to interview the president of SUNY Korea, Dr. Chuno Kim. I want to ask him about his vision for SUNY Korea, what kind of school he wants SUNY Korea to become for not only Korean students but also for students from other Asian countries nearby.
If you do come to Korea, would Korean students at SUNY Korea campus, would they have the same kind of curriculum? So would they have the same opportunities, as to like having those real live projects, they can go to industries to tour those sites. Would the curriculum be the same, like 100% same?
We have to make a plan. And I think that we know what the components of the plan are. We have to decide what would be the right staging of all of those events from day one to 3 years out, 5 years out. And I think that
I met so many people who are passionate about this university system. They are very happy that this education system is in Korea finally. And so it was great to meet prospective students and school officials who have poured out their heart into this project. The hardest part was to, manage my time wisely. There was a symposium going on, but that was not the only thing that I was going to show to my viewers. So I needed to do a sketch of the campus and to, manage my time wisely, and then finding people to interview at the right time was the biggest challenge. I want our viewers to see how Korea is seeking to upgrade their education level and make it really a global education for all. And please remember that this SUNY campus is located in Incheon, just an hour from Seoul, and it's a great port city, Incheon is. So it's not only available for Korean students, but from students from all over the world. So Korea may be the destination for you guys out there who are looking for some really great college experience.
네, 그쵸? 우, 수고하셨습니다.
And also the Mr. Yeah.
Play against Brazil. Although as it has accelerated. 더 나왔어요.